They said to me, hey, instead of hosting the NBA Finals, why don't you do Doris' Simon reported out for the NBA Finals? Because guess what that would clear the way for? For Maria to do the hosting for us. Yeah. So, I have declined. I don't know what their next move is, but they are feeling pressure because of all of that, and I'm trying to figure out like how to just, my thing is that I wish Maria Taylor all the success in the world. She covers football, she covers basketball. If you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about your crappy one-time record on diversity, which by the way I myself know personally from the female side of it, go for it. Just, find it somewhere else. You're not going to find it with me.
Honestly, if you are an American woman who appreciates not having to ask your father or husband for permission to manage your own finances, property, health, you owe a gigantic debt to the notorious RBG. If you are a league that holds equality as a core value, and I know for sure that this league does, the icons of that equality can't just be those who helped the men that we all see on TV, but those who paved the way for the women who work right alongside them.
Because guess what that would clear the way for? For Maria to do the hosting for us. Yeah. So, I have declined.
After all, the NBA is significantly stronger because of all the women who work in and around it. And we are all significantly stronger because a young lawyer dedicated her life to allowing us to have those opportunities. So thank you, Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
If you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about your crappy one-time record on diversity, which by the way I myself know personally from the female side of it, go for it. Just, find it somewhere else. You're not going to find it with me.
On the very same day, the NFL's owners voted to limit their players' rights to peacefully protest this exact kind of police violence. One league seems genuinely committed to making this a better country for everyone, including, by the way, the many police officers who go out there and do it right every day and whose work is being undermined by some of their colleagues. Meanwhile, another league seems genuinely dedicated to willfully missing the point, leaning into the misconception that athletes are protesting the flag or protesting the troops, when what they're actually protesting is the feeling of being hunted in the street by the people sworn to protect them. This shouldn't be a political issue. This is a human issue, and it is refreshing to be reminded that the NBA gets that, even as others do not.
If you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about your crappy one-time record on diversity, which by the way I myself know personally from the female side of it, go for it. Just, find it somewhere else. You're not going to find it with me.
That be enough to make other fans behave better? Personally, I had hoped that after a year without getting to go to sporting events, fans would just, appreciate how fortunate we all are to be back and have such an essential part return to the game we love. And surely a big chunk of them are. But clearly, there do need to be harsh penalties toward the fans who keep crossing the line, because this has gone way beyond classless. It has gotten nasty and dangerous, and players should not have to put up with it anymore. Days for me in this one room. We have not been allowed to leave at all, not go outside at all. There's no balcony, there's no outdoors.
Oh my.
I'm very excited to see the sunshine. And when I get out, I get this green bracelet taken off, which means that I have passed 7 coronavirus tests in a row. I also get this, which is a little buzzer they've given us. You wear this all the time, anywhere you go in the bubble, and it buzzes if you get within 6 feet of another human.
Really?
So that's going to be kind of crazy. You get a little loud alarm sound. I will say I've had several friends ask me if I could smuggle a bunch of these out of the bubble for them to just wear in their daily lives, and the answer is no. I'm sorry, I just can't.
Come on, Rachel. I mean, all right. I'm never going to like that little girly basketball where you have to outscore.
Well, at least you finally came out and said something like that.
Oh, I'm biased against girl basketball.
Okay.
No,
well,
you ever watch you cards?
That's not what
You ever watch you cards?
You just don't like the way Golden State goes.
I remember one of my favorite people. I love women's college basketball. You better watch you cards. I don't want it in the NBA. I'll tell you that. I don't want it in the NBA.
You've been waiting patiently, Shaq.
I worked with Charles for 3 years at TNT. We've been friends for a lot longer. I love that man like a big brother. I did text him last night and I said, Chuck, think about how it feels for girls watching you to hear you use girly or girls as a substitute word for weak or lame. It's not okay. And his point back to me was that he was just having some fun and that, as he put it, quote, intent matters. And he is right, it does. But to borrow one of Chuck's own favorite phrases, in my opinion, that is still not good enough of a reason to feel okay about using that expression. And this isn't a PC police thing. I'm not offended in any way. This is just about girls out there who love watching Chuck talk about basketball as much as I do, who shouldn't have to grow up feeling that they are the living human stand-in definition for being less than or weak. And frankly, young boys shouldn't be growing up thinking that about girls either. Where are you, Tracy, on this?
Because guess what that would clear the way for? For Maria to do the hosting. So I have declined.
ESPN baseball reporter Jeff Passan tweeting, quote, huge news. Major League Baseball announces it will be moving the All-Star game from Atlanta in response to the new voting laws passed by Georgia. Major League Baseball released this statement, quote, over the last week, we have engaged in thoughtful conversations with clubs, former and current players, the Players Association, the Players Alliance, among others, to listen to their views. I have decided the best way to demonstrate our values as a sport is by relocating this year's All-Star game and the draft. Major League Baseball fundamentally supports voting rights for all Americans and opposes restrictions at the ballot box. Matt, you have been so heavily involved in the past year in the initiative to get people out to vote and then fighting against people trying to take away American citizens' rights to participate in democracy, which, make no mistake, that is what has been going on here.
Insane. But this is big to me from a standpoint of baseball is America's passport. You know what I mean? They're supposed to represent America, you know what I mean? So for them to...
Money and opportunity was lost for your state because of this situation.
Salute to the MLB.
Absolutely. I have a lot of respect for Major League Baseball here. And you just have to look at the photo. This photo to me just kind of says, there you go, photo's worth 1,000 words, right? This is the group of people, older white men, who took away some of the access to voting for people who do not look like them, largely, just statistically, by the numbers. And I understand the law itself doesn't have racial or financial discrimination written into it, but the way that the law is written targets certain communities, and it's very clear by who is signing that which communities are benefiting and which might not be.
And we talk so much.
All the success in the world. She covers football, she covers basketball. If you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about your crappy long-time record on diversity, which, by the way, I myself, know personally from the female side of it, go for it. Just, find it somewhere else. You're not going to find it with me.
The portrait behind them.
It's just saying we do what we want.
Yes. And there you go. And of course, it's under the cloak of, quote, voter fraud, when the actual number of cases of voter fraud have been so tiny compared to other things that do go on in this country that we haven't regulated, whether it's gun deaths, whether it's certain other things. It's just very clear what is happening, and it's clear to the fact that Major League Baseball has pulled its All-Star game. We will have to see what happens, because it's not just the state of Georgia. There are more than 40 states that have legislation trying to make its way through these state legislatures to limit American citizens' access to the ballot box. And it is really impressive that an organization like Major League Baseball stood up and said, sorry, we're not on board.
All the success in the world. She covers football, she covers basketball. If you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about your crappy long-time record on diversity, which, by the way, I myself know personally from the female side of it, go for it. Just, find it somewhere else. You're not going to find it with me.
Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. I'll be joined by Vince Carter and Kendrick Perkins shortly, but first, let's talk about yesterday. Sports are so often a mirror for who we are. Sports show us what happens when we work together for a common goal. and what happens when we don't.
Because guess what that would clear the way for? For Maria to do the hosting. Yeah. So, I have declined.
Sports show us the very edges of what the human body is capable of, how high, how fast we can push ourselves. And they show us what happens when the mental strain is just too much.
If you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about your crappy long-time record on diversity, which, by the way, I myself, know personally from the female side of it, go for it. Just, find it somewhere else. You're not going to find it with me.
Who stood up, took that photo with the hoodies on, and that was really the rebirth of the start of this new athlete activism in the NBA. I always say we expect NBA players to be leaders in their community. We ask them to go do community events, hand out school supplies, be there for families in need with food, other supplies, things like that. If you want them to lead the community, you have to listen to their voices when they want to shape that community to be less violent, better education for their children and people who look like them, less fear. We ask these athletes to be involved, and they are saying, yes, I am here. I am involved, and they are some of the most vocal, most present, most high-profile young men and women in this country, certainly some of the most high-profile young African-American men and women in this country. And by saying what so many other people are thinking, it lets people know on the ground, hey, it's okay for me to feel like that too. I was so impressed with all of those guys last night, just as we talked yesterday about the women of the WNBA doing the same thing during their season. And I think we can expect more to come, and that's a good thing.
They said to me, hey, instead of hosting the NBA Finals, why don't you do Doris' Simon reporter job for the NBA Finals? Because guess what that would clear the way for? For Maria to do the hosting. Yeah. So, I have declined. I don't know what their next move is, but they are feeling pressure because of all of that, and I'm trying to figure out how to just, my thing is that I wish Maria Taylor all the success in the world. She covers football, she covers basketball. If you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about your crappy long-time record on diversity, which, by the way, I myself know personally from the female side of it, go for it. Just find it somewhere else. You're not going to find it with me.